You feel embarrassed, I'll be your bride. You need directions, I'll be the guide for all time. When you met me at a very strange time, I was laughing in the seas, but still alright to drive. And someone brought the rain in, and in the darkness I was driving out of ditches. I was blinded by the lights. Locked up and broken on the day that I was born. Got out around 2 in the afternoon, and there you were. We went around and did just what I did the night before. I guess that was just a lesson I wasn't ready to learn. Do you want to take me home? We can go. When you turn your head when I go, you sense it. You didn't want to hear it, and you gave that look that only you can get. Never see again, 'cause it won't be long before I'm gone. We can spend some time to forget, or just one more night. That's all I want from this sentimental rest. One of my mistakes, the closer that we grew, the more you drew away. And every night the phone rang, and every night you bring just 24 more reasons that I needed to change. And in the awkward silence, then they passed away. The time you didn't spend with him, but you blamed that on me. And in the weeks that followed, I always seemed to be the one you could depend on to say the wrong thing. So we sit all alone. There's nowhere else we can go. When you turn your head when I go, you sense it. You didn't want to hear it, and you gave that look that only you can get. Never see again, and it won't be long before I'm gone, and we can spend some time to forget, or just one more night. That's all I want. Didn't want to hear it and you did. That look that only you can give. We'll never see again, and it won't be long before I'm gone, and we can spend some time to forget. Oh, just one more night, that's all I want from this. Sentimental best. Sentimental best.
Alright, we're going to do one more together, then Joe's going to play some songs on his own. If you'd like to go next, please let me know. It would be awesome to have more people perform.
Lights are low enough, you get. You swapped your conscience with your father's medication. Then from Rome to Lawrenceville, and on the way you wrote out a self-made declaration. And when you got to Pleasant Hill, you forced the traffic to erase your family demon. You made a pact with you and God. If you don't move, I swear to you, I'm gonna make you. Do you need me? Do you need me? Do you need me? Do you need me? The first officer arrived, happened to be the high school bully of your brother. And when you finally recognized, you felt some guilt that you hadn't even let him touch you. Can you hear me? What's your name? You could not speak, just stood amazed at all the damage. As the high school's letting down, all the kids are saying the same thing that they used to. It's an alien. It's an alien. It's an alien. It's an alien. Lights were low enough, you get. Hospital food, there's never enough medication. The doctor asked about your ears. You said your mom said you were made from a revelation. The revelation never scared. Your fear came from the drunken dad and the clear scissors. You just finally letting go. Did you mean to take out all those people ready up? Didn't make up. Didn't make up. Didn't make up. Oh, I didn't make up. Didn't make up. Didn't make. Don't let it go. Didn't take time to let it go. Didn't let you go. Time is here to take your last amendments and believe them on your own. Time is here to take you by the hand, leave you there alone. Time has come to take the last commandment and to carve it into stone. Time has come to take you by the hand and leave you here alone.
Currently from here in Cedar Rapids. Eventually I'll be saying I'm from Des Moines. I don't know, that might take a while to learn how to say. Is this thing on?
Still on? There we go.
There it is.
All right. That was a practice run. So my name's Joe. I'm from here in Cedar Rapids for the next month or so, and then I'll be from Des Moines, and then I'll be back because I love this city and I'm not going to be able to stay away. So I'll play a few. I asked Aaron what he wanted to hear. He and I are pretty good friends. We like to make music together. And he said he wanted to hear some ballads tonight. So if anybody's up for some like slower ballady sounding things, I think that's what I'm going to do. This first one is not my own song. It's a cover of a song called Swim by the band Jack's Mannequin. If anybody knows who that is or knows the song. But my version sounds a little bit different. Definitely check out theirs because it's always hard to beat originals. But hope you like it. You gotta swim for your life. Swim for the music that saves you when you're not so sure you'll survive. You gotta swim, and swim when it hurts. The whole world's watching, you haven't come this far to fall off the earth. Currents will pull you away from your love. Just keep your head above. I found a tidal wave begging to tear down the dawn. Memories like bullets, they fire at me from a gun. Cracking the arm, yeah, I swim for brighter days despite the absence of sun. I'm choking on salt water, but I'm not giving in. you swim. You gotta swim through nights that won't end. Swim for your families and lovers, your sisters and brothers and friends. You gotta swim through wars without cause. Swim for those lost politicians who don't see their greed as a flaw. The currents will pull you away from your love. Just keep your head above. I found a tidal wave begging to tear down the dawn. Memories like bullets, they fire at you from a gun. Cracking the armor, yeah. I swim for brighter days despite the absence of sun. I'm choking on salt water, but I am not giving in. No, I am not giving in. 'Cause you've gotta swim, swim in the dark. There's no shame in drifting, feel the tide shift and wait for the spark. Yeah, you gotta swim, don't let yourself sink. You'll find the horizon, I promise you it's not as far as you think. The currents will drag us away from our love. Just keep your head above and swim, swim. You gotta swim. Alright, so this next song is called Perfectly Imperfect. I went through a breakup about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. And so it took a while to kind of get to the point that I could actually write about that. But this song comes out of that. It's kind of about, well, it'll speak for itself. I'll just let the song do that. So it's called Perfectly Imperfect. You were my perfectly imperfect fit. Took me entirely too long to admit it, but I wouldn't take back a minute with you, my perfectly imperfect fit. I wanna wake up in the mountain. You wanna sleep in on the shore. You wanna sup all night dancing under bar lights. I wanna dance in our apartment with my head on yours. And I wanna travel across the country. And you wanna sail across the sea. You wanna drive the fastest cars. I wanna stare up at the stars. You broke my heart when you unbent my knee. You were my perfectly imperfect fit. It took me entirely too long to admit it, but I wouldn't take back a minute with you, my perfectly imperfect fit. And I wanna shout it from the rooftops. You wanna lie it all indoors. You wanna work the perfect way beyond the sun gone down. I just wanted someone to love till the world burns out. You were my perfectly imperfect fit. It took me entirely too long to admit it, but I wouldn't take back a minute of it with you, my perfectly imperfect fit. And they say love can last forever if you learn to make it work. Well, we talked through everything, the nights we fight and the times we lie, but this time we're letting go. 'Cause this time we both know that we're a perfectly imperfect fit. It took us 4 full years to admit it, but I wouldn't take back a minute with you, my perfectly imperfect fit. You were my perfectly imperfect fit. Took me entirely too long to admit it, but I wouldn't take back a minute with you, my perfectly imperfect fit.
Alright, so this next song is the first one, continuing with the ballads. The first one that I ever put up on iTunes or Spotify, so if you like it, you can find it there. It's called Stacy, There's a City Inside of You. And it's about how inside of everybody there are entire cities, because we're all amazingly complex people, and yet usually the most we ever show anybody is just a really small town. And so it's just reminding ourselves that we can show everybody all the stuff there's inside of us.
There is a city inside of you. Your fragile eyes of ocean blue betray you. Women line the busy streets, crying out for food to eat and room to sleep. But buried deeper still lives an architect with hopes and dreams, who loves to speak of finer things, of kings and queens and empty streets. When all the women find their keeping, I wanna heal you. I wanna feel you rising slowly. I wanna hear you say you'll trust me when I say I love your city. There is a city inside of you, beneath the lies you've broken through, your prince of blue. They're still in you, and there's a child a corner down, with the hope that
you when I say I love your city. And I know that there's a road that leads to home, and I know you'll find the light inside your mind. I know that what you show the outside is the town you know them like. I wanna hear I wanna feel you rising slowly. I wanna hear you say you trust me when I say I love your city. I wanna hear you. I wanna feel you rising slowly. I wanna hear you say you trust me when I say I love your city. When I say I love your city. When I say I love your There is a city inside of you. There is a city inside of you. There is a city inside of you. Alright, you want one more, Aaron?
Yeah.
Alright, do you guys want a slower one or a faster one? Faster one? This one's kind of catchy. I haven't played it in a while, so we'll see if I can remember it, and hopefully you guys like it. I just embarked on this big, wild project called 2020 Hindsight, where I'm going to do all the past 12 years of music and like re-edit it and re-get it all on Spotify and all that jazz. So if you're interested in checking that out, it's on Patreon. You can find it on there. But this is a song called It Gets Better. It gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you like it's everything. It gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you, 'cause it's everything. When I got online tonight, I found another post of pride behind the walls I tried to build on my inside. From another crying eye that said, tonight I wanna die. Well, I write to let you know that I am by your side tonight. And it gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you like it's everything. It gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you, 'cause it's everything. There's a mess inside my head. Every answer ends in death, and every stress and word unsaid leaves me pretending in my bed. I've got no projects, got no plans, wasted time and empty hands. But in the depths of my regret, a voice has said that it gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you like it's everything. It gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you, 'cause it's everything. answer a plea. But I just got a sentence that sometimes sets me free. I wish I had a promise and answer a plea. But I just got a sentence that sometimes sets me free. But it gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you like it's everything. It gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you, 'cause it's every, it gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you, 'cause it's everything. It gets better, better, better. I don't know what that means, but I'll sing it out to you, 'cause it's everything. It's everything. Thank you very much.
All right, who is up next?
Luke. Awesome. Luke is up next.
Or just catch me. Thank you very much. Luke, do you need a bench as well?
Nah, I just need to
Couldn't remember. Sit. I don't remember where I got this. I was gonna say, I think that's where I got it.
Yeah.
Or I might have got it on Amazon, because I feel like I got it cheaper on Amazon.
God bless his mercy.
I mean,
Something like that. Yeah, man.
not too sure. Some other staff.
More of what's music happening.
I'm more of a word of not going to pressure me too much, and wherever they're also going to pay attention to. I've walked in there many times and they just have no sense of attention.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Look, there was a guy there named Jay who sold me my loot cup. Phenomenal.
Just pull it right.
Oh, yes, yeah. And then it's just clamps back in.
Yeah.
Got it?
So like, oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
just like that.
Got a lock. Okay.
Yes.
Hey Joe,
Hey, what?
what are you doing in
In Des Moines?
Moving to a closer to family.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of. Let me answer this really
Okay.
quick. Give me just a second.
Perfect.
This is Joe.
Super strong. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I've hit myself in the face with it before.
Yeah, that's so stiff.
That's painful.
Stiff.
It comes off. I've just gone.
Sorry, I thought that was only one.
So I have family that lives in the area. I saw the job there. I just hope youth emergency services and shelter. So it's a youth shelter. But I'll be working for a shelter.
Are you ready? I'm really excited.
Well, I didn't really with the guy. So I'm just looking for friends to go up there and stuff like that.
Well, let me get, so I'm here to get the income.
Okay.
Let me get some of those.
Cool. Cool.
So definitely.
Yeah. Do you know where you're gonna live?
I don't. I'm trying to find the books. I can't remember. Are we already trying to watch
Just 1 minute.
I
Stuff.
so.
Yeah, just 1 minute.
So you can always, let me get your phone.
Hopefully 1 minute. That was a lot, sorry.
All right, what is your phone? What are your
I see.
Once I get a little bit settled, let me get a little bit. I just need to, I don't want to make you a promise that it's before I actually go.
Yeah, totally. Are you going to do
Yes, I want to like.
do a quick sound check, just make sure the levels are right on this. Just fool around for a second. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good level. A little something different here.
Luke is also very talented.
Maybe not as talented, but hey, getting there. Yeah, so I'm a producer, sort of amateur producer at this point, still new to the game, but yeah, I specialize in hip-hop production and all that fun stuff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop beats. So essentially I'm going to start with one element and then just keep adding layers on top of it until I get the full beat. And then the first one, I don't have my lyrics, so I can't do anything with that. But the second one, I will rap over, but I didn't write the lyrics. Full disclosure there. Macklemore wrote it. Macklemore is much talented than I am. But anyway, sorry, I'm talking way too much here. I realize I need my cell phone, and it's back at the table. So could Lucas please bring it to the front? Give it up for Lucas. Luke and Lucas here tonight. It's crazy. Okay, let me get this set up, and we're gonna get started. always greeter when you play on AstroTurf. Wonder why my generation popping pills and popping person. Got some weed and got some perk, got some boards and got some sip, got some Jordans at my feet. I went and matched them with my shirt, and I just Instagrammed them both. Show you that I got them first. Got a Louis duffel bag. I got my girl a purse. Trying to find out through her purchase. I ain't trying to go to church. Amen. Satan told me not to serve. Only think about myself. Only think about my come up. Capitalism. Look at where we come from. We are what we run from. We are why we smoke some. So numb, so numb, so numb. Thank you. Thank you. So like I said, I'm a producer. I actually released a song with a guy who's actually much better at rapping than I am. So if you want to hear the song, just come find me after this thing's over, and I'll share with the link. So, thanks guys.
I'm Susanna. Hello. I'm a freshman at Mount Mercy University, and I'm an art education major. And I will be reading something for you tonight. I'm new to this whole poetry thing. I haven't really written a lot in my life, but I just felt really convicted by something this month, so I decided to put it on my notes. It's crazy to think that people live their lives perfectly healthy, that every organ is performing its job perfectly, and the blood pumped by their hearts is flowing perfectly. It's insane to realize that not all people are struggling, that not all humans have an illness that ails them every single day, that there are no limitations to what their bodies could do, that they don't feel trapped inside the skin they were given. Is it selfish to think that they might take their bodies for granted? Their flexibility and fluidity, their drive and their strength, my perceived weightlessness of their shape. This body weighs on my ambition. It has taken away my drive. I loathe the shell where this soul is tethered. It is not me, and still I claim it, my fragile prison. I cannot help but surrender. Every single step I take, it constrains and it limits. It prohibits and it slows. My chest tightens, constricting my life and poisoning my blood. It withers with every beat. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Abby, and it's really hard to see you guys, actually. I didn't anticipate that. So I'm also going to be reading some poetry that I've written. This first one is called Winter. I made it through the month of October with its active death and breakdown of chlorophyll, the whole world exempling how it feels to lose something. Multiple shades of brown. End with stark shade of picked clean bones. Trees reach up from the sky like fingers clawing. I try to imagine that inside. My chest, I'm clawing at the same sort of air. For if fall is about finding beauty in the process of dying, winter is living with the aftermath. When finality settles in a blanket overnight, freshly layered on until living in it will mar. White represents everything all at once, but nothing visible for us to see. Absorb every wavelength, take it in, make light heavy. Winter is the earth grieving. Even brisk air pulls blood from noses and makes lungs or throats prickle. We are breathing in pain. Long nights in bed, darkness stretched to wrap around early morning and evening from both ends. Refusing to get up, be day, encroach, creep in on the window that is light, just greedy for what it has but never able to shine bright. Chilling a fingertip mimics its attempts to make us feel the same effects it does. The end, again. I'm familiar with these symptoms. Dormancy is the only way through, so we hibernate, hoping that we too will have our resolution in warmth, abiding our time until then, investing. Thanks, I appreciate that. So this next one is based off of this one song by Hillsong United, I think, called New Wine. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but it's a worship song. And it's all about how in the crushing and in the pressing, God is making us into new wine. I guess when I said the words, in the crushing, in the pressing, I never thought they'd be taken so literally. So exactly, that I would be truly out of control in the crushing of my body pressed down, pinned to my own safe space. You are making, and that means renewing, me, my heart, my mind, whether it be 7 years or one night, working everything for good, so I can be sure this will bear fruit. Resolution in the form of self-discipline, maybe. I will always take my rules from and abide in you. I hate that this favorite has been tainted, my own fault partially, but at least it will serve a constant reminder of your grace, forever acquainted with your character. It's not a matter of my control, straying, yours in the fold forevermore. Thy rod and thy staff make sure, so I don't have to handle these decisions. It's a relief off my chest, even if he wasn't. Thanks. So, I only have 2 more, I promise. This one is called Emergency, because, you know, some things are an emergency and you don't really realize it, and I've never really been good at gauging those kind of situations. They tell us to break the glass in case of emergency, but I was never told where it is or how to know. I have a hammer, blindly swinging until I'm shattered in shards on the floor. What lies behind will then only show. Pulling the fire alarm used to be a funny joke between children. What of actual dumpster fire plumes? Inside the heart of a school, so many trapped but still working, heads bowed while sweating. Is that an emergency if no one's begging for help? As if waiting it out will be the answer to a next test or extra credit. Slicing my hands and feet on sharp pieces of self, the cost of cutting corners becomes my own lifeblood and things that make me happy. I might need stitches. My lips, the only thing bound, gave my words away. That 911 call not placed because I still can't gauge. How bad does it have to get? All right. Over the summer, I wrote an open letter, and Susanna's heard it, and so I'm going to read it for you guys. Dear parents of America, just because you made someone doesn't mean they're your property. You don't govern their every right, decision, or move, nor can you invade whenever you feel like it, because at the end of the day, you chose to create people, and that means they are humans just as deserving of freedom as you. Love is not something to hide behind. Slip the word into every argument like sugar on our carrots just to get us to eat them. You don't guilt us into saying it back. That isn't the real love you're after. You can't attain it with these methods anyway. Most of the time, what you're searching for can't even be found in us. The recognition and support you seek can only be given from a friend or spouse, and I refuse to play the part of either. You are old enough to tie your own boots, so pull yourself up by the straps and stand. Go to therapy the way we all realized we had to. Only needed because of your vicious cycle. The steel-edged rims sliced whatever untouched flesh we had, and every time we tried to get out, only scarring more and more until our skins were too thick to feel it tumbling through the course. There is so much to escape from. Living in houses of suffocation, we don't even have the bodily autonomy to go outside in the yard at night. You've proven that you don't care much about that, though, when every quick movement puts us on high alert. When any object approximately 3 feet from our face gets any closer, when anywhere from my shoulders to my knees is touched unexpectedly, it's obvious. How many times do I have to flinch for you to get it? Our inner quaking, the very heart shaking, move away from people in isolation. They never left a mark, no, but bruises wouldn't even show the extent of it. No amount of bloodshed could account for the lost self-worth. Many of us turn to handling that part ourselves, made to feel nothing towards any semblance of self, because from a young age, we just mirror our adults in charge. Apathy, reflex. How do you cut deep enough to signify that you'll never live up to their standards? Convinced of your stupidity, sure that somehow not conforming made you wrong, and we just wanted to be right. We were chasing an ideal flowing down the streets of insanity, repeating the patterns laid out before you in psychological warfare. Verbal promises that never ended up happening, but with enough sincerity that we were all convinced. Day in, day out, berated for the simplest of actions, how dare you walk so slow, or toss away garbage careless, almost as if punished for being the very child they saw. Every comment a needle through the soul. Fear rules these households, holds the fabric firm in many hearts. When playing Mario Kart, no kid should ever have to have their first panic attack over playful competition like, I'll beat you. This is only one problem of many. Think of the broken families, the orphaned, the neglectful, the abusive, in ways a child should not have to endure. You will never listen to us. All we can hope to do is learn from the areas you missed out on, like support, communication, guidance, and trust. Without these things, how can we possibly call us better than you? For a family is supposed to be loving, there for each other. By those terms, we're no more than strangers. We will do better than you with the next ones. Even if it's out of spite, they'll never know. View new life not as personal resource, but something to pour into, only once we are full enough to spill. Children are not the solution to a failing marriage, and as the product of that experiment, we can attest. Our homes will be a garden, luscious in fruits and teeming with life, quietly serene, welcoming. Every spring has to start with mud, and every seed grows from dirt. We must first lay down the gritty layer before anything can be produced. Get through the rain shower. Although we might have lost a boot out back, this monsoon season will soon end. Against your best efforts, we finally discovered our true worth in the gardener. He who grows and lifts up calls us to forgive, so we try. All of the muck will be worth it at some point. Until then, parents, we continue to endure your style. Too much discipline, not enough relationship, almost no love lost between. There are good ones out there, but they're scattered. It's great if you had them, but that is not our reality. We would give up hope if we didn't have potential to become the new wave. Abuse will always be there, seared into our memory, no matter the type, verbal, physical, neglect, anything else. What matters is how we deal with it.
My art form is a very different type of art form than what you guys have seen. I am doing participatory art forms. I am not just speaking the truth. You're going to experience it, and you are going to use it, and you are going to see it. This aluminum foil hat, it keeps the voices out of my head. And I'm sharing with you part of my aluminum foil. So share it around, spread it around. Make your own masterpiece. Don't let others try to take your masterpiece away. I was really inspired last time I came here, and there was a saying that I want us to say. We're going to say it at the end. It's, if you want culture, go to Groundswell. And so at the end, I'm going to tell you guys that, and I want you to say it, okay? Audience, you want to participate? Yes. There we go. Good, good. So we're going to have some fun here. We're going to have some good fun. So, I've digged a lot of the different performances here. It's hard to top the last one because this is mostly off the cuff. As you can tell, I really dig this saying. I don't know how many people study a lot of Buddhist philosophy here, but it's called divorce yourself from desire. Because a lot of people, and a lot of the way that our society is, it's a disposable society. Disposable marriages, disposable children, disposable houses, and automobiles. You know, it used to be one house, one spouse, one wife. But people want to always reinvent themselves. They want to always think the grass is greener. And it can be greener, it can be nicer. But I think that you should always think about how is our interaction with people? How do we interact with people? Do we enrich their life? Are they enriching ours? And do we want to divorce ourselves from desire and accept what we can control, try to control what we can, and just let things fall in their way, fall in their peace? See here? I also thought about bringing shame to your family, because that was something that I grew up in. And that was something that, you know, my aluminum foil hat here is protecting me from. Because my family's been in this area about 150 years, so quite a while. A lot of people are just transients, coming and going wherever they want to be. They're not vested in the community like I'm vested in the community. And it's interesting, though, because growing up, I always had a mother that was, and a lot of our family was that way too, was obsessive compulsive compassion disorder. But you would always grow up and you'd be in an environment where you don't bring shame to your family. You don't bring shame to your family. You sit there in silence, for the righteous know what is best, and they shall tell you what is best. And you do as you are told. And I'm glad to not be in that environment much anymore. It's a much nicer environment, a much more peaceful environment when one has sovereignty over oneself. I'm also an ordained minister. I got it on the internet. That's where you get all your legitimate credentials, is off the internet with a printer and a computer. Not just some crazy man with an aluminum foil hat and some hand-printed t-shirt. I am a righteous man speaking truth to power. And I really feel that Groundswell and this open mic is an enriching environment, and I'm glad to bring a unique performance here. I'm not using my fancy iPhone. I find it fascinating when cultures and when environments want to just live their lives through their phone. They don't want to live in the here and in the now. They don't want to live in reality. They want to live in delusional fantasy land where they can put a filter in. They can look here and say, oh, I lost 20 pounds and I got rainbows for eyes and diamonds for coming out of my nose or whatever, you know, the filters do. But then, when you see yourself in reality, you're just going to see disappointment and disgust because you're living in your delusional screens. You're not living in reality. You're living in delusional screens. And more people need to come to community events like this, experience reality, experience the here, experience the now, not your flashback, Snapchat, whatever fantasy digital magical land that the Hollywood fat cats and the Silicon Valley data stealing evil demons try to project on you and try to steal your data and know where you're at. Why does that matter? You need the here and now. You need the community. And that is why you are here. That is what you want to experience. And you should go to the concession stand. It's really good. Great candy, great drinks. They're doing a great job with that. So, but yeah, I was inspired by a performance last time, and it got me thinking about how do we live our lives? How do we want our lives to end? How do we want to be remembered? Would we say this person was loved, they gave love, and they received love, they cared, and they were compassionate? You know, or they just want to say, that guy was a total asshole. You know, what do you want your tombstone to say? What do you want your impression? What do you want your lasting mark to be? He's the crazy guy that comes up here yelling about phones while he's looking at his phone with an aluminum hat on. You know, they're going to be like, wow, that guy was a genius. Yeah, you know, he really thought this shit through. So, but it was interesting too. Just a lot of the different things here, and just thinking about it. And that I don't have a Czechoslovakian Protective Society palace that I can retreat into. I have Groundswell, and I have the community here, and it's amazing what they've done in the number of years that this place has been around, and how much it's grown, and how much it's evolved, and how much it's improved. And I really appreciate this community. I've been coming here for a number of years, and I think it's quite the feat. And now it's flying away. It's flying away. Where is it going? Where is it going? And here it is. It's back. It is back. You see my hat? It has arrived again. It's resurrected and come back and landed on my head. It knew where it needed to go. It's because of the GPS of the phone. The phone and the GPS, they all coordinate. So, watch out for Zuckerberg. He's going to come for you. But I really believe in speaking truth to power. And I'm glad to get some laughs out there. I'm glad to get some audience participation. Because this ain't, you're not watching a TV. You're not staring at a screen. You're coming here for an experience. You're coming here to be entertained. You're coming here to enrich your life and enrich the lives of others. So now, how are we going to close this? How are we going to close this? You guys ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
If you are culture,
Go to Groundswell.
again, if you are culture,
Go to Groundswell.
there we go. You guys have a great weekend.
Yeah.